click the yellow button.
Hi guys, have you ever wanted to use music, photographs, clips from movies, other video clips in your videos, whether they're online, offline, something you want to sell, etc., but didn't want to pay anything for them? Well, let me introduce you to the terminology called public domain. And I'm going to give you some insights on what to look for, the dates that are out there, and how to go about finding public domain footage. Well guys, I'm Mark Absalon. I hope you're having a cool and groovy day, and what we're going to discuss in this one is public domain footage. Let's first start off by defining what public domain footage is, because a lot of people won't really know what it means. Public domain means it's fallen into the domain of everyone in the public. This happens when a piece of work, whether it's a photograph, a book, music, etc., its copyright expires. This basically means that the footage can be used without permission from the original copyright owner in anything you create, and you don't have to pay any royalties for it at all. As long as you got the image there, or video, or film, or movie, or whatever, you can use it in anything that you want. A great example of footage that's considered public domain is United States government footage. This can be NASA footage, Department of Defense footage, anything that United States taxpayer dollars paid to create. Whether it's a film, a photograph, a movie, video, audio recordings, anything of that nature. Now, this only applies to United States government items. If you're living in Canada, for instance, if the Canadian government creates something, they do have copyright laws for that in Canada. Other areas for public domain sources besides just the US government, you look for stuff that the copyright was not renewed. Like for instance, there's a great film noir movie called DOA, and its copyright expired, so it fell into the public domain. Now there's a lot of other stuff out there that's like that you have to kind of dig for to find it, but you can find footage from old movies that's fallen into the public domain. One rule that you can always apply to United States copyright law is the rule of 1923. If you find any photographs, other types of images, sound recordings, or anything of that nature that were copyrighted before 1923, you're in free range to do whatever you want to with those images. Like for instance, I found a lot of different photographs from the 1800s for my Spare Change series that are all in the public domain because they were either copyrighted in 1880, 1897, 1901, 1905, all of those time periods that are in the public domain now because they just fell out, even if they had been renewed. There are some areas too that you need to kind of be advised on. Mozart, Bach, all of those guys are in the public domain, but their music is. Now, this doesn't mean that you can take a song that was produced by like the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra and by Bach and use their song from their CD on your videos, because they still created the song, so therefore they can copyright it because they created the music. The actual music itself that's written down is in the public domain, so that anyone can replay Bach or Brahms or any of those guys without actually having any problems with copyright. Now, as a filmmaker, I've done a lot of research looking for public domain footage, and I'm going to share that with you right now. There's a great place that you can check out for actual images and also to check on the copyright status of something. I'm going to put the link right here so you can check it out. They've been updating their server to allow people to download old photographs, which are very useful. There are other places you can check for public domain footage, but there are a couple of little things that you probably won't like about it. These places are called public domain stock warehouses, and they're all online. And what they do is they have films and stuff from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s, and they offer them to you. But they offer them to you at a charge. You're going to be paying anywhere from $200 to $500 per movie. So unless you need a really high quality copy of one of these films, you might want to look elsewhere. But if you need it on mini DV or on DVD or something really great for a documentary or shooting, it's probably the way to go. Another place besides the public domain stock warehouses is eBay. Go on eBay. Look for 16mm or 8mm films that were actually produced by the government. You can normally pick them up on there for anywhere from $40 to $80, kind of depending. Sometimes you get in bidding wars. Like, for instance, me, I decided I wanted all the Castle Films newsreels from the 1940s showing World War II, and I wanted them all on sound. So I have that whole collection, but I paid a lot for it. They are Castle Films, and Castle Films is copyrighted, but all the footage that's on it was shot by the U.S. Army, so therefore it's considered public domain. Now, the U.S. Army and the Navy and the Department of Defense, they all produced film movies on all kinds of weird things. Everything from a documentary I saw on plexiglass and its uses in the military. This was a 45-minute documentary on this, to all kinds of crazy things. You just wouldn't believe what the U.S. government has produced that you can find on eBay. But like I said, you can sometimes find it cheap and sometimes you can't. It depends on how bad somebody actually wants it. A very recent place that I have found that has public domain footage that you could probably use in your productions are the dollar DVDs that you see at your local, store. They're $1. And the reason they're $1 is because most of the movies on those fell into the public domain, so they don't have to pay any royalties for them. And they'll put them on DVD and sell them for $1. Well, probably the stores bought them for 50 cents, but they're actually turning a little bit of a profit. So that could be a source for your public domain too. But I would definitely, before you use it, check and make absolutely sure that its copyright was not renewed. Because I found most of the time that it wasn't renewed and it was in the public domain, but there's that 5 to 10% sometimes that they still have a copyright on. So just the word of advice is be very careful in how you do this. It can be kind of a fun adventure hunting for stuff too. And lastly, let me just reaffirm, make sure it's in the public domain. The resources are out there for you to find out whether it is or not. So just like I said, make sure it's in the public domain. Take heed of this warning because it can come back and bite you in the ass. Well, I'm Mark Absalon, and if you want to learn more about video production, go over to my website, markabsalon.com, right here. Check out my training DVDs, my forums, my reviews on software and hardware and all kinds of other stuff. And also, before I forget this, we're all doing this subscriber-based contest. It's every 10,000 subscribers I give away great prizes, from green screens to light kits to software to 100,000. We're actually going to give away a camera. So it's a great contest, and all you have to do is subscribe to my channel to win them. Well guys, I'm Mark Absalon, and until the next tips and tricks, I'm going to get out of here. I've got more work to do, so you guys have a cool and groovy day. So just remember, my light just did a backflip.